Hello and welcome to the 15th episode of Studies in Shadow. I am your host, Jack Rogers, and as always, I am joined by my mythical co-host, Noah Bazoo. Say
mystical, hi. Good mythical. I'm just kidding.
You cut me off.
That's okay. I was going to say good mythical morning, but that's not what the show is.
Oh, yeah, trademark.
Yeah, because that's not our show.
That's okay.
But we back.
Have a good mythical evening. How about that?
After 15 episodes. So has that been 15 weeks then, I mean?
Yeah, straight. 15 straight weeks. 15 straight weeks.
Did you say wakes?
I said street wakes.
I was like, I mean, there's awake and waves. There's
there's I was thinking of awake, like, you know, the open casket funeral type thing.
I mean,
street wakes. It sounds like something you'd have in New Orleans.
Sounds like something a gangster would do. Just throw the body in the street, we all walk by.
But a wake is very respectful, though.
I mean, they pour out one for the dead homies.
You ever see that the thing about the raccoon in the street that was dead, and you know, public service wouldn't come clean it up, or public sanitation wouldn't come clean it up, and so they just like put a ton of like flowers and like cards and pictures of the raccoon around the dead raccoon.
Yeah,
you've seen that?
Yeah.
It's a super funny one, and that's pretty much like a wake, I guess.
Anyway,
wave.
Hey.
So we already talked. What did we talk about last week? something about the sea. What did we do?
No.
Oh, we did Bermuda Triangle. That's right.
Triangle.
And we talked.
It's air and sea.
So we talked about like
we foreshadowed a lot.
Yeah, we're like, it's like next week. That's because we're talking about
knew already.
Two nautical related. Makes it sound like I'm saying not related. Two ocean/sea/ship related episodes in a row, but this one's kind of a little different. And that is because today we are talking about ghost ships.
Oh, yeah.
You ever see that movie Ghost Ships? Or Ghost Ship?
No, but when I searched Ghost Ship to like look up anything clever about this, I saw like 5 trailers for it. And I was like,
have you seen the
2002?
Did you watch the opening scene?
Yeah, okay. No, I have seen it, but like it's been a while. It's the one where the big wire comes down.
Yeah, no, I don't like it.
Does the little girl die?
No.
Okay, she's the only one that survives.
She's the only one that survives.
Bro, it was 2002 when it came out. It must have been 2005 when I saw it.
I don't really want to go into detail about the shit. But yeah, it's really...
Brutal opening.
It's a really brutal opening. It made me really nauseous
They
the
make
first
you
time
think
I ever
it's
saw
so
it.
cute and happy and loving, and then it's just dead. Everyone.
You make me feel so...
Yeah, let the bodies hit the floor.
Oh, gosh.
Literally, because...
We're like half bodies.
Cut in half, because, yeah, dead.
There you go, going into detail. Awesome. Anyway, we were talking about 2 different ghost ships today. I picked one and Noah picked one.
Yeah.
Would you like me to go first and do like the backstory behind why we did this one, or do you want to go first?
100%. Oh, I gotta say this first. So, like, Jack sent me a video about this. Do you think it'd be inappropriate if I put the link to that on the website?
Go for it.
Okay.
I reference it in my notes.
Okay, you do. Okay,
I went to a couple different places to look for.
Because, like, oh shoot, my phone's gonna die. That would be bad. Jack sent me a video about this even before the idea of ghost ships was going to be an episode. Just an explanation of his topic that he's going to talk about tonight. And it is so cool. And there's a little bit he's told me about it. And I didn't go into much more research because I really wanted to see what he said. And that was really hard because I was so close to Googling it different times. Especially when I was searching for things, seeing what he was obviously what you were going to do. Mm-hmm. It kept popping up as like top 10. And I was like, I can't look at it because that's going to spoil it for me. Anyway, yes, go. It's such a cool thing.
Okay, so before we ever decided to do this ship as our topic, as my topic, needless to say, I am an avid horror fan. I am also an avid video game fan. So when you mix those 2 things together, that makes Jack a happy boy. All work and no video game play horror makes Jack a dull boy.
All work and no play, yeah.
So, there's this video game studio. For those of you who don't care about video games, please bear with me. I promise I'll get to the point.
It's really entertaining.
They specialize in horror games, right? Mm-hmm. And so they made this game for the PlayStation 4, which I don't have. It's called Until Dawn, and it is a horror game that takes place, I think it's in like actually the mountains of Montana, because they deal with like Wendigos, which we've talked about. Yeah. And it's a scary game. It's like a horror movie, and the little decisions you make at the beginning or all throughout the game have huge impacts.
So, like, is it like a traditional, like, you, like, go through level to level video game? Like, what's so special about it? Like, it's like
no, so it's a narrative video game. Imagine, like, a choose-your-own-adventure book.
Okay.
Yeah, so it has a big emphasis on the butterfly effect. You know, small decisions have huge impacts, just like domino.
Yeah, I drop this penny right now. It's gonna do something in 100 years.
There will be a sequence of events.
So is it like kind of like watching a movie and you choose how it plays out?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, you know, you can, I think at one point you can decide to, and just like this other game we're going to talk about, you can decide to either drink with your friends or choose not to drink. And your state of sobriety or inebriation actually has a huge impact on the way that character is played. Because you jump around from character to character because they all have kind of their own stories.
Like a movie, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And your little decisions sometimes end up having a huge effect even to death.
Word.
Let's say you're running from a bad guy and you choose to either run and hide somewhere or jump over the obstacle in your way. And you choose
drunk.
Well, sure, yeah. And if you're drunk and you choose to jump, you're going to stumble over it, and then you die.
Oh, word.
So I don't know if that exactly happens, but it's a lot of stuff like that. Your little decisions have a huge impact on the future, which is, it's pretty much a kind of a narrative on choices in life, really.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because you make small decisions and everything you do has a ripple effect. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I could not play it because I have an Xbox. I have a different system, and they made it exclusively for the PlayStation. But lucky me, the same studio is making a horror anthology. An anthology is a short collection of stories. Or just a collection of short stories, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
And they made it for both PlayStation and Xbox. And it is called Dark Pictures Anthology. And the first one is called, I thought it was Man of Medan. It's Man of Medan. And it is by the same studio. It's got the same feel to it. Noah, you've played the very beginning of it. I showed it to you.
I haven't touched it since. I'm too scared to.
What?
My wife wants to see me do it. I'm too scared to touch it because you were here last time and you kept hyping me up and I was like brave when you were here.
But anyway, it's got the same feel. But instead of being in the mountains of Montana and running from Wendigos and a serial killer, on this one, you are a group of friends who have stumbled upon the Orang Medan.
Bless you.
I didn't, when I started playing the game, I had no idea that the Orang Medan was a real quote-unquote ship.
I didn't either.
No, I thought it was, and I didn't know, you told me. I didn't know it was called the Orang Medan. I was like, I don't even know what the Medan is. But I remember at one point in the game, like you pick up a captain's hat as one of the characters and it has NG and then a space and then Medan. I was like, I guess this is something to do with the Medan. Maybe this is the captain and he's the man of, I don't know. And then, so I play the game, freaking love it. It's terrifying. The first time, only one person in my group died. And then the second time I played it and I made all the right decisions, everybody lived. It was fantastic. But anyway, I digress. I played this whole game, which takes about 5 hours to play. It's like a movie. And I had no idea that this was a real thing until I was talking to one of our listeners and I was like, what would you like us to talk about? She's like, oh, I love ghost ships. You should talk about the Orang Medan. And I was like, Orang Medan, NG Medan.
Thank you to that listener.
It's a real thing? She's like, yeah, it's like a really awesome old story. I was like, I had no idea.
What?
And so I looked it up. Okay. When I describe what happens on this ship, that's exactly what happens in the game, minus a few details.
Yeah.
Because, playability.
Let's keep this like strictly like in the real world, but yeah.
Yes, but when I realized that these events actually happened than I saw in the video game, I was stunned. Because it was horrifying, really.
But you're making me not want to touch it again.
What, Man of Medan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you to that fan, by the way, for suggesting that, because this has been a very entertaining search that we both did.
Okay, yeah. By the way, Orang Medan was a Dutch freighter ship, and Orang is Malay or Indonesian for man, and Medan is a big city in Sumatra. So the name actually translates to Man of Medan.
So the game is the name of the ship and vice versa. Oh, that's a clever thing.
And I didn't know that until today.
And it's Dutch?
No,
language?
it's Malay or Indonesian, but it was a Dutch freighter.
A Dutch freighter, though.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. And I've already talked about how that's all a game. So the incident of the Orang Medan took place...
This is real life now.
Yes, this is real life.
Okay.
The incident took place with the Orang Medan either in 1947 or 1948. There's some debate. And this happened in the Strait of Malacca, which is a pretty busy, area for ships to go through.
Where was that exactly? Do you know?
I think I should have written it down.
Is it like Atlantic Ocean?
I think so.
Okay. Like
Northern
Atlantic.
South Pacific. One of the two.
It's an ocean.
It's an ocean. I think it's actually Pacific.
Okay.
So the first contact with the Medan was indicated, that indicated any sort of danger was a message in Morse code sent out from the ship. It read, SOS from Orang Medan, stop, we float. That's the first part. And I wrote that down. I was like, Pennywise? Anyway, he continues, all officers, including the captain, dead in chart room and on the bridge. Stop. Probably whole of crew dead. Stop. And then something, unintelligible, because it was a high-stress situation. And then followed by the last transmission, I die. That was it. That was the last they heard of the Medan.
In Morse code.
In Morse code, yeah. So if you heard the Morse code at the beginning of the video, by the way, that is a real message that I wrote and then turned into Morse code. If you can crack that, we will give you a hardcore shout out.
And maybe some other things, but you got to get it to us first.
Cool. So British and Dutch listening posts heard this transmission, but it was actually an American merchant ship called the Santa Juana, which later became the Silver Star when it was bought by a different charter. It was the one to reach the Medan, and they tried to call out to the ship. They sent messages over radio, and there was just silence.
And it's just floating there.
And it's just floating aimlessly.
That's creepy.
Oh yeah, it's a dead ship, and there's no damage on the outside that they can find. Ugh. And so nothing's happening. And so they send a boarding party. And when they go on deck, that is when the nightmare begins. For the people who went on deck. The nightmare for the people on the ship has already ended.
They did.
The entire ship that they explored, on deck, everything, riddled with corpses. Just everywhere.
Like crewmen or just other people?
Whoever was on the ship, everyone was dead.
Oh.
The transmission was legit.
Everyone's dead.
Everyone is dead.
Oh.
Creepy, right?
Yeah.
That's not even the worst part. Every single crew member in person on this ship was frozen in time.
Wait,
I'm not talking about like they're doing time travel or anything.
I was like, mm-hmm.
They are frozen, like in... Their faces are twisted into frozen fear. Their eyes are wide open and looking forward. Their mouths are open like they've been screaming. And their arms, rigor mortis has set in really unnervingly fast.
It takes like usually a couple hours, or not a couple hours, like a couple days for it to set in.
Right, but usually if you're dying, your body has time to relax, and then you freeze in that position.
Yes.
These people were literally huddled together sometimes in groups, like arms outstretched, trying to fend off
something,
whatever was after them. And they are all just frozen in fear.
It's like someone took just ice, basically.
Yeah, in the moment of all of their panic, just froze. Also, they were decayed at a really, really fast rate, which is not supposed to happen.
What does that mean, essentially?
When a body decays?
It stinks.
No, but you know how a body decays?
Yeah.
Takes a little longer than a few hours.
Okay.
These bodies were decaying.
And did they find the ship a few hours after the signal?
I guess so. Oh. Because they said they had decayed faster than what is normal.
I mean, most decay takes place after 24 hours, because then your body completely is completely just done.
Yeah, but so...
That's wild.
Just imagine that, going on deck, and everything is just like a mummy, but frozen in its poses of last moments of sheer terror.
Any kind of blood or violence?
No, actually, there were no physical wounds on any of them.
Oh, word?
None.
What?
They were just, like I said, they were frozen in their terrified final positions.
Boy, okay. I know this is legit because you told me about it, and I watched that video about it, but that's okay. And my brain's trying to confuse.
Honestly, the thing that freaks me out the most is that their faces were stuck in a position of screaming.
Like they were just about to die when they saw something. Or they died just as they saw something.
Or they died while seeing something, and their mouths just froze that way.
Okay, that's scary.
Yeah. And sometimes, like I said, they're all huddled together, but it wasn't like they were looking in all different directions. They were looking in the same general direction, just paralyzed in terror and dead. And decaying faster and stiffening faster than what is normal for a corpse.
Fantastic.
Not really. But anyway, they kept searching the ship, right? Because they're like, well, we can't stop at the deck no matter how awful this is.
You go first, Jim.
Just put yourself in their shoes. You're already terrified. I would nope the F right back on
I'm about to draw
right
straws.
back onto the Santa
I'm
Juana.
about to draw straws and be like, hey, you go first, buddy.
So they found the captain and the SOS operator in the same condition. Frozen, dead, paralyzed, decaying faster.
The
than
SOS
normal.
guy being the one that said, like, I die, like, sent out the message.
Yes. He was
Oh.
dead at the desk.
So he was right. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was awful. And when you play the game, it shows this all happening, by the way, but kind of in its own
fictional twist.
its own fictional twist on why it happens. It pretty much gives an explanation. There was also a dog on board. It was dead, frozen, and it looked like it was really agitated before it died.
Define agitated, like growling or like snarling?
Just really disturbed. Like it was not happy right before it died. It did not go out peacefully.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, it was over 100 degrees outside, like above deck, but below deck, it was like 40.
What?
It was freezing cold. And they said that there was just this insane chill that they felt. Like unnervingly chilly. But when I read that, I was like, oh, okay, that's not terrible. I mean, go below deck, things are probably insulated, it's metal, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, but there was a boiler room that was still functional. It was 130 degrees, and they still felt the chill. Ghosts.
And it was still working.
Yeah, it was functional. It was on. But
What?
There was no power to any other part of the ship, including the engines or motors, whatever they are.
What?
Yep.
Okay, this kind of stuff that really bugs me because I try to find the logical
That's what
explanation.
bugs you. We're talking about people dead.
Boy, I'm
frozen in
trying to
fear.
find the logical explanation in my head.
There
to
is
be
no
like,
logical explanation
that's
with most
the
of what we talk
point.
about.
I mean, yeah. Mine, yeah.
Studies in shadow, not studies in logic.
I mean, we do tidy logic though.
We do, yeah. It's just not the emphasis.
That's
anyway,
tough.
yeah, it's rough. Rough, tough, and getting your phone charger.
Yes.
Do you want me to keep talking?
I'll be right back. I'm right here.
Okay.
Sorry, folks.
He
my
took off
phone's
his
about to
earphones,
die.
like got up. I was like, "Where are you going, pal?" I can stop the recording. And
No,
continue.
I'm here. I'm here.
Anyway, despite all of this, they decide they're gonna tow the Orang Medan behind the Santa Juana and bring it back to port.
The rescue ship was going to pull it back.
Yeah, and it's not
Okay.
even a rescue ship. It was just an American merchant ship. And so they set up the tow lines and everything. And as they do that, all of a sudden they see a ton of smoke rising from inside the ship. So there's a fire. And they're like, well, shoot, we can't tow a boat
the
on
frozen
fire.
ship.
We can't tow a boat. Well, there's the boiler room. That's what I
Yeah.
could think of. We can't tow a boat that's on fire. That's not going to work at all. And so they go back to their ship hurriedly, and then they cut the lines. And then guess what happens?
The fire goes out.
No, the Orang Medan blows the F up.
Oh.
Hard. Blows up so hard. And okay.
Like Michael Bay level explosions.
This would put Michael Bay to shame, apparently. Because I don't think Michael Bay would even do this. Here, let me find... Okay. So the Medan exploded with such an overwhelming force. In fact, the infographic show, which we'll put the link to that video, the explosion, quote, actually lifted... Well, it's not a quote, I paraphrase. It actually lifted the Medan out of the water. That's how strong the explosion was. I don't know how that makes any sense, but apparently it was strong enough to lift itself into the air.
Jeez. I mean, it's like water displacement could do that if you had something big enough to make the boom happen.
Guess so, but it just... So, the Medan sunk.
Oh, okay.
And all of the evidence. Convenient. This is why people debate if it's real or not. Also, there's the thing about the Medan can't be found on any, registries. And people are like, the Silver Star didn't exist either, which is correct, because at the time it was registered as the Santa Juana, and then later it was bought by another company. And then changed to the Silver Star. So anyway, there were several reports One that came out, I think it was in like Dutch newspapers the next year, or 1948, because some people think it happened in 1948. But there was also a United States Coast Guard report. And apparently, purportedly, they got their report from the actual, like, guys who were on the Santa Juana. Like, they talked to them. And so that was in an official U.S. Coast Guard report. You want to know what the report says? This is scarier than any description I could have done. So the U.S. Coast Guard report says, quote, "Their faces frozen, upturned to the sun, staring, as if in fear. The mouths were gaping open, and the eyes staring." Close quote. I read that. I was like,
And that's the Coast Guard, like, official, like, .gov report
I guess so.
at that time.
So there's a number of theories because this is technically like a ghost ship. And so the first two are my favorite. Not really. Aliens, because always.
I mean, yeah. That's an easy way to go out.
We did that last week too. The supernatural, of course.
I mean, what else could it be at that point?
Well, you'd actually be surprised. There is a possible connection to a Japanese group of people called Unit 731 who performed extremely brutal and inhumane scientific experiments in World War II. The group was founded by a Japanese bacteriologist named Shiro Ishii, and he established it in like 1933 or something like that.
So it's like he did stuff on POWs.
Yeah.
During World War II.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Kind of like how the Nazis would do that.
Yeah.
They would perform all of those really awful medical tests, and that's why we have
the Convention.
That's why we have all these. I think Geneva Convention existed then too, didn't it? Or was that later?
I mean, it did, I think, but there was like more to it, obviously.
Anyway, and that's actually why we have apparently all these medical discoveries because of all the terrible things they did. Because we wouldn't think to do them to people outside of that. Anyway, so apparently it's possible that the Orang Medan was carrying biological weapons that had been smuggled on board. And that's what made these people go crazy. Also, people think it was carbon monoxide, but carbon monoxide doesn't make you go insane and then freeze of fear and die.
Did they not, like, this might be a really stupid question. Did the people on the San Juana, is that what the ship's called? Santa Juana, did they not, like, search everything on the ship? I mean, I get that it started on fire, but like
every place that they searched, they just saw corpses. They didn't think to like look for a biological weapon or like the source.
Facts. Yeah,
but
I wouldn't be thinking of that either.
I feel like they had seen enough. I feel like if you've seen enough frozen, freaky bodies,
you don't need to go any farther.
You're like, I'm good. I think we can pretty much assume that everyone's dead. Let's tow them back to land. And so the final thing I want to show you is this picture that may or may not be from the Orang Medan, and it is actually one of the frozen corpses with their face frozen in fear.
I don't know if I want to see this. Is it brutal? That's an actual We're going to put this on the website.
Maybe. It's debated.
What the heck?
It's so it's kind of a
that
sepia
made my
tone
stomach
picture.
twist looking at that.
It's a sepia tone picture. It's somebody laying on their back. Their arms are outstretched, and their face does look like it's frozen in fear. Or like they were just coming down from fear when they froze.
Yeah.
And died. We'll put the picture on the website so you can look.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw that and I was like, freaky.
Yeah. Dead bodies are always unsettling, no matter how long it's been since you see a picture of one.
Anyway.
It's gross.
That's all I have, folks, on the Orang Medan.
What do you think happened, Jack?
I have no idea.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'd like to think that it went how it did in Man of Medan.
Demon
but
kids?
No.
I don't know the story, dude.
I'm not going to tell you. But in the game, it's an American World War II ship sailing from China to San Francisco.
But it's not in real life.
It's not in real life. Nobody knows the actual destination of the real Orang Medan. So that's all I have.
Ooh. Just dropped my phone. Okay. Well, I don't think mine is near as interesting because I really enjoyed yours a lot. I did mine on the SS Valencia, and if you know anything about ghost ships, apparently this is on like the top 5 of so many people's opinions of ghost ships. I looked up all kinds of, I looked up all kinds of things, and I asked people what they thought of like certain ghost ship stories, and this was always one of the top 5 ones that I got. Anyway, the SS Valencia was built. It's a passenger ship, and it was, it's a United States ship. The whole point of it was a passenger ship, and it was meant to sail the passenger route between California and Alaska. It would go back and forth as you do. One bright and sunny day in 1906, apparently the weather was fantastic, is what the record says, from various other ships in the same area. The SS Valencia decided to it didn't decide to. It set off for the city of San Francisco.
From?
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't the normal route. Because remember, it's a passenger ship that goes between California and Alaska. It's like, back in that time, that's the only route that it made.
Got it.
Because it was just, 1906. Anyway, so it was going to San Francisco. I don't remember exactly where from. I think it was just coming from another part of California. Anyway, they were making a big turn out there. Anyway, it wasn't the normal route. The sister ship of the Valencia, which is the SS Pueblo, was in the yards so that the Valencia had to take over for her. Oh, it was the San Francisco to Seattle run. So it was back from going from Seattle to San Francisco.
Just trailing the West Coast.
Yeah, basically. Left on January 20th, she had 65 crew members and 108 people sailing off. And once again, beautiful morning, beautiful day by all things. Not a cloud in the sky. Until randomly, the weather took a turn for the worst. Off Cape Mendocino, it's in Northern California. Cape Mendocino, Mendocino.
I have no idea.
I don't know. Mendocino in Northern California.
How do you spell it?
Mendocino.
That would just be Mendocino.
Mendocino?
You're reading it like you're Italian.
I'm French.
If it's in California, I imagine
it's probably Spanish.
It's probably Spanish.
Yeah. Got my Spanish man over here. Got me. Oh yeah, by the way, all these descriptions that are going to be like when I'm like saying quote or this is what it looked like, this is what it sounded like, I have a list of like 7 different ships that were either on the rescue call or were in the area when this was happening and saw things going down, like dozens and dozens of people's, affidavits and testimonies that all line up very, very accurately. So when I'm saying something, I'm saying it because the ships saw that as well. Anyway, this description comes from a fishing vessel that was nearby when this happened. The captain of this fishing vessel describes it as this. With an almost inhuman scream, the ship tore through a reef. The crew...
Yikes!
Yeah, through just a reef just randomly there. Well, I mean, not randomly, just whether it was a shallow tide or just a random day that was there. The crew... oh yeah, and there were survivors of this, so this is also coming
Fantastic.
from them too. Yeah, very few though. The crew reacted immediately, and they were backing the ship off the rocks, following standard procedures. Mm-hmm. The damage control parties went down to the engineering, and they found a gash in the ship that was 5 feet across and 7 feet long. So it's like if you're 7 feet tall and you reach across 5 feet, that's how big the hole was from the reef. And water was quickly cold, frigid Pacific water was rapidly pouring in.
Duh.
The captain, obviously being smart, quickly ordered her run aground, as there was no way the crew could save her. Duh.
Just fill it up with people.
Yeah.
Fill the hole up with people and just link arms.
Anyway, so they ran her aground. But this isn't a happy story, once again. She came to rest about 50 feet from the shore, so they didn't make it. Yeah. What's more is like I said, all of a sudden the weather had just turned into a massive storm.
Yikes.
And in this part of California, or wherever this takes place, Cape Mendocino, or whatever it is, there's a massive cliff. I think they said it was about 70 feet high.
Nice. Just
off the coast. And there's a little sandbar right there that you can stand in, and on a normal day it goes up to about your knees in the water, and then it's a sheer cliff up there. So they run aground 50 feet in the ocean before that. I'm just explaining this for her. Yeah. And once again, with the storm and everything that's happening, massive waves are going everywhere. In the confusion that followed, 6 of the seven lifeboat
You can do it.
Yeah. With all the confusion happening, somebody dropped 6 of the 7 lifeboats before the captain gave the order to do so. 3 of the boats flipped over. when they hit the water, spilling the human cargo into the merciless freezing sea.
Human cargo?
People.
Oh, people were in it.
Yes.
Shoot.
Yep. We'll get to that in a minute. The 2 of the remaining 3 boats that capsized immediately sent their occupants to the same fate. So 5 of them immediately dumped everyone in the water.
Okay.
1 boat made it away of the 6 that were dropped, like we said. Frank, a guy who survived, Frank Len, one of the few survivors, said this.
His name is Frank Len or Franklin?
No, Frank Len.
Oh, okay.
Lehne. Len.
Nice.
I just realized Frank Len. I was like, wait, no.
What's your name? Frank Len? Frank Len.
It might be.
No, I said
It might
Frank
be Lee
Len.
Hennen. It might be Lee Hen or something like that. Yeah, it might be Lee Hen, but I'm saying Len. We'll go to Franklin. Anyway, this is what he said as he was in the boat going towards the shore or the sandbar. This is what he says. Screams of women and children mingled in an awful chorus with shrieking of the wind, the dash of rain and the roar of the breakers. As the passengers rushed on deck, they were carried away in bunches by the huge waves that seemed as high as the ship's mastheads.
Yikes.
The ship began to break up almost at once, and the women and children were lashed into the rigging above the reach of the sea. It was a pitiful sight to see frail women wearing only night dresses with bare feet on their freezing ratlines, trying to shield children in their arms from the icy winds and rain. So he's talking about the people on deck as the ship's kind of like getting close to capsizing. The Valencia is a massive ship, by the way. It's like turning on its side. He can see women up there that are holding their kids and like grabbing. They're like putting their arms through the ropes that are like, basically, it's like batten down the hatches. They like are roping their arms through these ropes to hold onto their kids before sliding off. And it's a freezing cold day. Of the first boat that made it to land, 12 of them were men. And they had seen a lighthouse that was 15 miles away. Immediately, like 7 of them started climbing this cliff, 70 feet, like in a sheer cliff. And they made it. All 7 of these guys made it. And they ran 15 miles to this lighthouse to send a message because apparently it was broken on the ship or something like that. They sent out an SOS, but they wanted to make it more specific. And anyway, they made it, and they sent it out. When the distress signal was sent, 3 ships raced out, and at this point, it's getting really close to nighttime. It's getting pretty late in the evening. The SS Queen was one of the ships that came first. It was one of the first rescue ships to the disaster site. The weather was so bad, and the reef was so high up that they could not get close enough for people to get the people. They could not do it.
Oh, man.
And they could not drop their life boats, the little lifeboats, to send people because their people would die because it was so brutal. So what they had done, though, is people had like gotten off at an earlier point and were going up the cliff in order to try to like set things up and help people and get a rescue station set up on top of that 70-foot cliff. Anyway, so it's a pretty bad situation. They can't get to them even though they can see them. Yeah, like I said, a rescue team went through the wilderness to rescue from the shore. There were 2 remaining lifeboats on the ship that were launched, but the majority of the passengers chose to stay aboard, as they believed their salvation was at hand. Fate, however, had other plans, as it reads. This is a quote that's one of the this is a quote from one of the people on the Queen, the rescue ship. When the overland party had arrived at the cliffs above the site of the wreck, they found dozens of passengers clinging to the rigging and the few unsubmerged parts of the Valencia hull. Without any remaining lifelines, however, they could do nothing to help the survivors. And within a few hours, a large wave crashed onto the wreckage of the ship and pushed it into the rocks and dragged into the ocean. Every member of the crew and member of the passengers left on board drowned and was pulled out to sea. This big wave hits the Valencia, tears it apart, and just
crap.
pulls it back. But there are still people on the sandbar. Mind you. There's like a good 50 of them on the sandbar. Yeah, this is brutal. They had to watch, basically, the guy explains, we had to watch people grabbing onto pieces of the ship that were just sucked back into the ocean. We could never see them again, and them screaming for their lives for help. The people on the sandbar of like the 40 or 50 of them, they thought they were safe until the tide kicked back up. And at this point, the tide went from being about knee-high to being about chest-high, maybe higher for people. And once again, it's freezing cold. It's a massive storm. It's getting close to night. And the tide is rising, and it's mostly women and children on this sandbar, and they're trying to climb up this cliff, and they can't do it.
I can't climb up a cliff either.
And the tide is rising, and these waves are just crashing and slamming into the wall of the rocks.
That's fun.
Where all these people... and all those people who were on the sandbar died.
You know, that's my idea of a good time.
So, after the tide went down, it was like a few more hours before the weather finally cleared up. Mm-hmm. The rescue ships finally moved in. There was no bodies.
Yeah, I can understand
There was no ship. There was just like pieces of wood and a few, like they could see this debris, but not very much of it. So in total of like the 180 people, I think, that were on board, it was recorded, 15 survived. And 12 of them were like the guys who got off and ran to the lighthouse to get help. And they came back, and 2 of those men died because they went down and tried to help people.
Why didn't everybody run to the lighthouse?
Because they couldn't climb the cliff. These guys did.
They actually climbed the cliff.
That's what I said at the very beginning. They climbed the 70-foot cliff.
Oh, yeah.
They like totally were beasts and had to do this.
They were Tom Cruising it.
Yeah.
From, what's it called? Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation.
I was going to think Fallout. I was just going to say Fallout, but that's just
Climb
the last
building.
movie.
But yeah, so they climbed this cliff, and I mean, honestly, this might sound so stupid. 70 feet isn't a ton. Isn't a super high.
Yes, it freaking is.
But it is so freaking high if you have nothing else around you to grab onto.
It's just high general.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the last people heard of the Valencia.
Fun.
In 1906 until 1910.
Wait, what kind of ship was this? Was it a wooden ship?
No, this is in the 1900s.
Yeah, so it's a metal ship.
It's a metal ship.
Where'd the freaking wood come from?
I mean, there's wood on the boats. I mean...
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
I love how that's my question. Where did the wood come from? That's the real conspiracy, folks.
In 1910, the Seattle Times reported that a ship that was the SS Valencia was spotted off of Panchea Point was seen.
Panchea Point?
Yeah, Panchea.
Are you sure it's not Pansea?
It might be Panchea. Wait. Pachena.
Pachena.
Pachena? I don't know. I don't speak that Espanol.
Dude, that's just phonetic.
Boy, no, dude.
Pachena.
Oh, no, I spelled it wrong. Hold on. I see it written down there 2 more times. I spelled it wrong. Okay, let's keep going even though I typed it wrong. Off of that place that you just said, the point, people were seeing it 4 years later, the ship. Sailors, even up until 1915, 16, 17, reported that they would see it. They would see specters of a steamer, the steamship, obviously, drifting near the reef that had happened. Those who have seen the ghost ship say that it looks like a normal ship. Everything looks fine. There's steam coming out of the whatever the things are, the vents, whatever. And when you get up close, though, and one guy, I don't know what his name is on here, he's one of the people who saw it. This is the 1915 or whatever. He says everything looks fine, so you get close enough to read the name of the boat. And it says SS Valencia on the side. And then, this is quote, it appears broken, rusted, and haunted as of death.
Yikes.
The vessel full of holes that shouldn't let it float. Witnesses, same as this guy, also claim that as soon as you can see what the boat is, the screams of women and children can be heard, just screaming one word, abandoned. Over and over again.
No. That's like the freaking tombs when they're saying, die, die, die.
People think that the reason they're screaming abandoned is because they're angry at the crew of the rescue ships for not saving them. But if like records show,
that
like,
makes me sick to think about.
Dude, if you read the things that I've read, like it's like they couldn't have done anything. They couldn't have saved them, or else other people would have died.
Yeah, see, like tragic things and like scary things I can deal with, but like freaking like women and children screaming from a ghost boat saying abandoned. Oh, that's dark right there.
Here's some more stuff. This is kind of going back in time a little bit. 5 months after the disaster happened, a fisherman claimed with like 5 other guys. This could be fictional, obviously, but it's kind of interesting to think about. He claimed that he found a life raft with 8 skeletons in it. Said that he saw them drifting into a cave right on the water, like right near, like on like the like the coastline, and they sent a salvage party in to find it. Nobody found anything.
Cool.
So that was interesting. There have been other instances of smaller fishing boats with smaller sized groups of people reporting to seeing a small boat in the fog. The people, oh yeah, this was a crazy thing. This was like, I found like 17 different instances where people talked about seeing this. They'll like be on like a fishing boat and they'll see like a lifeboat, which is, it's not, it's tiny, but it's not like impossibly small. They see it and they can see it in like the fog and they see people on it and they're waving. But as soon as they get close, they look like skeletons.
No,
and
that's
then they
like
disappear.
freaking Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, and they disappear. Here's the last thing.
Y'all, these people are bitter.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Here's the last thing.
You're dead. Move
In
on.
1933, the lifeboat number 5 from that ship.
Isn't that your favorite number, Noah?
Oh, yeah. The lifeboat number 5, because it has a big 5 on it, was found floating peacefully in the middle of nowhere. Remarkably, it was in good condition.
Cool,
As if
free
this
boat.
was like 29 years after the incident.
Oh, man.
The original, this is one of the things that somebody said, the original paint was still remaining and did not have any signs of wear, weather, or aging. There was only one sign that there were ever survivors on board. Once again, more depressing. Somebody had scratched into the paint, no S-A-L, and then there's a little slash, like a V was going to be
no
written.
salvation.
Yeah, and then it ends.
Yeah, come on.
And it was carved into the
Yikes.
paint as if done by nails. Like somebody scratched it with their nails into the paint.
Yummy. That sounds really not painful.
Yeah. And once again, like that boat, the number 5 lifeboat, was launched in the beginning of the disaster. And that's one of the ones that went missing. And all the people went out of it or supposedly were lost. But there it is 27 years after the fateful day. And it's just in the middle of the ocean.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man. It's wild. Yeah, that abandoned thing really threw me off, too.
Yeah,
There was a clip, and they had, like, people making the noises. I was like, all right, no.
But now I want to look it up because I am morbidly curious.
I don't know if you're going to be able to find it.
Dude, I couldn't... you talk about the freaking dude in the catacombs, like, and you hear him screaming, and, like, he dies. They found cameras in the walls or whatever.
Yeah.
I couldn't find that. You're going to have to send it to me.
I will send it.
I'm looking, I'm like, this all looks...
Probably because it's blocked on YouTube.
It's blocked on YouTube?
I couldn't find it. Everything I looked to find it, it was like, this video is no longer available.
Where did you find it then?
On a random website,
Oh,
dude.
okay. Well, then send it to me.
It's got that face of, like, the red, weird face, like the YouTube thing, like, hey, this video's not here right
the
now.
diagonal
Okay.
mouth. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're not talking about the tombs today.
Anyway, that's the Valencia. It's wild.
That's so delightful. That's more delightful than Disney.
I don't know if I'd rather die in the Orang Medan or the Valencia. They're both kind of sucky ways to go.
That's an interesting would you rather. Would you rather well, these people died of drowning, which has to freaking suck.
Who, my people?
Yeah.
Yeah. At least your people
Mine
died.
just died of fear. At least they were dry.
And stop, no.
I'm so dark.
You're a monster.
Thank you. Take that as a compliment.
Okay. Yeah, that's brutal, though.
Is that all you have on that?
That's all I have, dude. I didn't want to go anymore with that kind of stuff in my research.
Awesome.
I was like, all right, I don't need to know about the names of the women and children, how old they were, because they had a list, and I was like, no thanks,
Oh,
no thanks, no
man.
thanks. There was a lot of kids under the age of 10, more than
geez.
20. Oh, man.
Okay, well, since we're done talking about that, I want to tell you guys that we are going to be doing something so cool on Wednesday. I'm not going to tell you what it is, though. You're going to have to wait until the week of Halloween.
I don't even know what it is.
Yes, you freaking do. You've helped me plan it. I was the one who reached out and talked to the people, but you darn well know what's going on. Anyway, we got a bunch of new gear, and we're gonna go do something.
Holding it right now.
Yes. We're gonna go do something. We're gonna probably do our most interactive episode that we've ever done. Not interactive with you, interactive for us. It's gonna be so cool, and I am so pumped. It's gonna be an amazing episode. So the 26th is what? This next week?
No, today's the 13th.
This next week.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Saturday is the 26th. So we will be recording on Sunday we will have everything recorded for the Halloween special on the 27th. And then instead of releasing it on Friday, let's say we'll release it on Thursday because that's Halloween.
Gang, gang.
Or we can do it on the 30th, the Wednesday.
Nah, I was doing Halloween.
True. But what if people are busy? Anyway, we can talk about this later. But guys, I am really excited for this.
It's gonna be so cool.
Noah and I are gonna do a little bit more research tonight. I don't know if you saw my text from earlier about our research idea.
Oh no.
Anyway, I'm being super vague, and there's no reason for me to talk about this. Noah, is there anything else you want to add?
Ask me, Jack.
What is your Noah nugget of knowledge, Noah?
Guys, there's so many good things that I could share with you. Let me tell you this right now. The man who invented Pringles cans, Friedrich Bauer.
Frederick Bauer.
Yeah, Friedrich Bauer.
Friedrich
Bauer. He's German. Yeah, when he died in 2008, he wanted to be cremated and put in a can of Pringles. No! So he is. The guy who invented Pringles cans.
That's smart though, because nobody can reach their hand in and get them.
They can just get a whole lot of them. Freaking the ashes.
They have to have a child do it.
Anyway, the guy who invented it is dead in the Pringles can. So you open one and all of a sudden there's just dust. Yeah, it's gonna be huge.
Don't eat it. Gosh, guys, you can find Studies in Shadow on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and SoundCloud. Find us on Facebook and Twitter. Username Studies in Shadow. Guys, visit our website. Brand new as of a few weeks ago. It is studiesinShadow.com. For all inquiries, requests, suggestions, submissions, all that stuff, you can send a message to studiesinShadow@gmail.com or DM us on Facebook and Twitter.
Or the website.
We can do that now?
Bro, I set it up, man. We got
Sweet.
People can just go on there and say, hey, do this.
Cool.
No excuses now.
Music has been composed and produced by Jack Rogers and Matthew Gonzalez. This has been Studies in Shadow. We thank you for listening. Stay safe.